Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalists of Arlington.
We choose.
We choose.
We choose to be
A liberal religious community.
Welcoming.
Welcoming to all.
We encourage each other
on our spiritual journeys.
Support one another
through the changes in our lives.
And challenge the excesses
and injustices of our time.
Called to love.
To love.
To love.
And upheld by joy.
We live our faith.
Good sweet earth, sleeves rolled up and hands buried in the dirt. I can see you there in one of Dad's old shirts, showing me how life's supposed to work. Good straight lines, you need seed and sweat and soil and sweet sunshine. And once those roots take hold, you'll be just fine. It's a beautiful design. It just takes love and faith and grace, a little time. We're in this together, like ripples on the water, trying to make it matter until our time to leave. One day they'll carve your name in stone and send your soul on home. Till then it's praying for rain and pulling up the weeds, planting trees we'll never see. First day of spring, the whole world's waking up and turning green, and everything connects to everything. It's a beautiful design. It just takes love and faith and grace, a little time. We're in this together, like ripples on the water, trying to make it matter until our time to leave. One day they'll carve your name in stone and send your soul on home. Till then it's praying for rain and pulling up the weeds, planting trees we'll never see. Statues fall and glories fade, but 100-year-old oak trees still give shade. We're in this together, like ripples on the water, trying to make it matter until our time to leave. One day they'll carve your name in stone and send your soul on home. Till then it's praying for rain and pulling up the weeds, planting trees we'll never see. You've got it already. And I encourage you to sing it like that. Sing it seated, sing it softly, almost to yourself.
My name is Reverend Stevie Carmody. I use he, him pronouns, and I want to especially welcome all the young people who are worshiping with us for the whole time today. If there are children's orders of service in the lobby and also activity packs if you want to seek those out. And I want to ask for a little help from some of the children here on the first level. can you come, a few of you, grab these baskets of rosemary and hand them out to everyone. 2 baskets will go up to the balcony and 4 will stay down here. We want to just go to the end of the aisles and hand out little sprigs, and we'll do that nice and quietly. So if you want to go up to the balconies.
Even on this slightly dismal day, there is good reason to sing Alleluia. I've been noticing the smell of the air is different outside now, as the ground is defrosting and things are coming alive. Diane taught us a song today, Trees Will Never See, it's called. And we'll sing parts of that song again throughout our time today. The words are in your order of service. Well, Reverend Jonipher and Reverend Carolyn and I have been humming this song all week, thinking about the story that this song tells of the past, of the present, of the future, and Easter too. Maybe the melody will take root in your head, and you'll be singing it to yourself days or weeks or months from today. I want to ask you, how do things take root? Living things, I mean. I invite everyone to find some wood that's here in this sanctuary and just ponder it for a moment. Or if you're at home, finding some wood that's close by to you. Maybe it's a seat or a bench that holds you, or the rafters which are holding the roof, or the wood around the beautiful organ that resonates with the sound. Touching that wood, perhaps, imagine back to the moment that that big tree was just a little seed or sapling, stretching its taproot down into the ground, seeking water, stretching out a network of tendrils to stand tall. How did it know, we wonder? Or perhaps with a little more of our science glasses on, what needed to be true so that it could grow? Each mighty oak was once a little sapling. Things were fragile. What might happen next was unsure. How did we take root? Who or what was in our lives so that we could grow and arrive at this moment too? There's not just one way to take root, and it doesn't always happen with an easy beginning, middle, and end. Did we grow in good straight lines, like the song says? Rarely. Seeing the beauty of the ways that we are different, in fact, I don't even think that is the goal. Maybe we grew in one garden and were transplanted to another. A new school, a new town. What time had to pass before you could feel like yourself again? What love helped that happen? Maybe we grew up in a ceramic pot of sorts, and then our roots got too stuffed for that container and we had to move to another one. What is something new you might have discovered when you move to a new place? Or maybe we're like the Spanish moss, which I've been learning about this week, that floats through the air and nests in a tree and roots there, finding companionship. So as you're thinking about how you take root, I'm sending you home with a project. With the sprig of rosemary in your hands, you can help it take root. When you take it home today, you can follow those directions that are in the order of service, to strip some of the leaves and put it in the water. If you're at home, I invite you to find rosemary or basil, and you can conduct the same experiment. And find a place for some bright sun that's not too intense, and change the water regularly. And wait. Give it time. Caring for a little growing thing, not knowing quite the future. This is an Easter mystery. This is a source of hope. This is the hope that we've undertaken for generations and generations. And with our rosemary, maybe roots will form and it will be ready for soil. But no matter what, we invest in that hope to make good things grow. You can take out your orders of service again. Join me in singing the first two verses with Diane of Trees We'll Never See and the chorus. You can remain seated.
Good sweet earth, sleeves rolled up and hands buried in the dirt. I can see you there in one of Dad's old shirts, showing me how life's supposed to work. Good straight lines. You need seed and sweat and soil and sweet sunshine. And once those roots take hold, you'll be just fine. It's a beautiful design. It just takes love and faith and grace, a little time. We're in this together, like ripples on the water, trying to make it matter until our time to leave. One day they'll carve your name in stone and send your soul on home. Till then it's praying for rain and pulling up the weeds, planting trees we'll never see.
We're going to have a little time of quiet and prayer. And quiet doesn't always mean silence. We recognize that. But bringing yourself into stillness. And as you're sitting in your seat, whether you're here or at home, I invite you just to sit up, imagining maybe a tree. And I'm going to teach a few arm movements that we'll use today during the prayer. But if your arm mobility is limited today, you can move your hands to participate. So beginning, we stretch our arms upward. We draw upon the transcendent wonder of the universe, stretching towards the stars. Or maybe we're trees stretching for sunlight. Oh, sweet Spirit of the universe, come join us in this prayer. And then we bring our hands over our heart. We remember too our own worth and holiness, something we are born with and we cherish and allow to shine over our lives. We hold tender the places for times when people have been made to feel like they are less than worthy, extending our love and care and calling us into action. With our helping hands extended forward, we are reminded of our deep need to give and receive care. Help us to extend care and service to those who need it around us in this spring season, those facing hardships and health struggles, or those lonely and lost. With open palms, may we also be open to receive the love that is extended to us. With our arms now bent and out to the side, perhaps touching the forearms to the one next to us or the edge of the Zoom screen, we remember our interconnectedness. Just as the dirt and water and sweat and sweet sunshine help plants grow, so too do we draw our strength through interdependence. Feet rooted to the floor and arms linked, we are grounded. With this groundedness, may we work for a world that includes all. And with our palms together, we are reminded of the oneness of being, an assurance that a greater love holds us, and we may rest in and take comfort in it. So now I'll repeat this sequence, naming again those meanings one more time, and we'll quietly just repeat the movements themselves 2 more times after that. Coming there, we'll hold silence for a minute or 2 longer, for you to hold tenderly in your heart the longings that you may have. Transcendent wonder, inherent worth, care and service, interconnectedness, and the oneness of being.
Many are pointing to themselves. That could be a right answer. I have at least 3, right, that I want to mention today. One you haven't mentioned yet, which are a group of people called hobbits. How many of you have seen the movie or read the books by Tolkien, Lord of the Rings? Quite a number of you, right? So you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that hobbits eat 6 to 7 times a day. There's pre-breakfast at 7 a.m., and there's breakfast at 9 a.m., and there's what's called the 11 C's, which is at guess what time? 11 o'clock, right? And then, of course, there's lunch at 1, and afternoon tea at 3 p.m. So those of you who are British, you'll note that that is not quite high tea, because high tea is at 5. But rather, dinner is served at 7, and supper is served at 9 p.m. There must be some Spanish hobbits there, because they eat pretty late too, yeah? So hobbits love to eat, and when I saw the first prequel, there was one eating scene after another. Remember that? And they invited Gandalf to their dinner party, because the thing is, hobbits rarely, if ever, eat alone. Eating is a communal activity for them. They invite the whole village to come, even the strangers. You know, strangers quickly become friends with these hobbits. Now, another group of people that you may not have thought of that is associated with people who love to eat were the early Christians. Did you know that many of them did not meet in fancy schmancy church buildings like the one we have, or great big giant cathedrals, but rather they met in people's homes. and they celebrated what they called a love feast. So they sang together and prayed together and talked about their lives, otherwise known as sharing their joys and celebrations together, right? And they broke bread together. And that is how the original concept of communion came about. That through that sharing of the meal, that they recognized their common humanity, and that was how they were able to build community together. Fast forward to when Christianity became the official state religion of the Roman Empire. And guess what? That screwed it all up. In my humble opinion, anyway, that the Christians amongst themselves then started fighting about what communion actually meant. There were the Catholics who thought, oh, it's all about transubstantiation. And when the Protestant Reformation came about, the Lutherans thought it was consubstantiation. And then when our forebears, the Reformers, came about, they were like, whatever, we'll just call it asubstantiation. It's more symbolic than anything. And if you young'uns are wondering, what the heck does all these words mean? Let me tell you what, the adults don't know either. They just spend so much time and effort fighting over these ideas that nobody cares about. Believe it or not, they even fought wars around it. Those of you who have seen Lord of the Rings, you might note that there were as many war scenes as there were eating scenes, right? So maybe that's a reflection of that too. So these days, my question is, how can we go back to the basics? I'm less concerned about putting Christ back in Christmas as I am about putting community back in communion. Amen? That this sacred ritual should not be a litmus test to determine who belongs and who doesn't, who's part of the in-group and who's part of the out-group. That this meal that we share together should go back to the original meaning of community and to expand that definition to include the whole wide world. Because without seeds that Reverend Stevie was talking about earlier, and without our forebears planting these trees that yield fruit and these rosemaries that yield bushes and spices for us to make our food more interesting, and without all these vegetables that have been planted for us, we can have no food on our table. So we are forever indebted to those who grew those plants to begin with, most of whom to these days are immigrants, right? So why shouldn't immigrants be invited to the table? Why aren't they a part of our community today? Why aren't we in communion with them? Is the major questions we should be asking, right? Not about these ideas, but again, going back and paying attention to what is present in our food to begin with. Which, again, the answer is everything. Because everything is connected to everything, right? As the song goes. And so this spring, I want us to reawaken, to have a rebirth, and to put our meaning into this ritual that has lost its meaning over the years. I want us to begin to come fully alive. We're the ones that need to be resurrected. And we become alive when we share food with one another, because food literally is what brings each of us life. That's why you were pointing to each other, right, in terms of who loves food. It's not just reserved for the foodies, although I must say the foodies are an elite group of people who are really serious about their food, right? But all of us need food in order to come alive. And that's what we celebrate spring for, is to recognize that we have had a very bitter winter. I'll be the first to say amen to that. You know, growing up in warmer climates, I'm not used to all this snow, y'all. So in the spring, we celebrate the coming back of warmer weather, and we celebrate the growing crocuses and all the plants that we could finally start planting again, and that new life will come about. This is what spring is about, and this is what we're going to sing about again. The next verse for Trees We'll Never See. Join me in singing that, please.
Start with the part says, first day of spring. First day of spring. The whole world's waking up and turning green. And everything connects to everything. It's a beautiful design. It just takes love and faith and grace, a little time. We're in this together like ripples on the water, trying to make it matter until our time to leave. One day they'll carve your name in stone and send your soul on home. Till then it's praying for rain and pulling up the weeds, planting trees we'll never see.
I went to seminary in California where rosemary grows everywhere, everywhere, and in abundance. Sidewalks are lined with rosemary bushes. I would rub my hands in their branches and then breathe in the scent. And if you also love the scent, and if you have a little sprig of rosemary, and if you are at home, imagine that scent. I invite you to breathe it in right now. And perhaps in doing so, you absorb rosemary's regenerative powers, and maybe you will awaken your own power to do the same, to awaken to a new day, to new possibility, a new vision of ministry clear. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear, brighten my pathway with radiance clear, mingle my calling with all who will share, work toward a planet transformed by our care. As I began writing this reflection, I put in my earbuds, and wouldn't you know, the George Winston station of Pandora played that song right out of the gate. Known to those listeners more commonly as Be Thou My Vision, we know it as Wake Now My Senses. A hymn that invites us to work toward a planet transformed by our collective care. Oh my goodness, friends. You know how much the planet and all the humans that populate the planet, how much care is needed right now. We sing, till then it's praying for rain and pulling up weeds and planting trees that we will never see. We sit in the shade of trees that our ancestors planted, right? Just as we are faithfully planting trees in whose shade we will never sit. We are not planting those trees for ourselves. Just as we are not marching and advocating and demanding and singing and writing and speaking for justice that we may never see ourselves. Raise your hand if you are in the sanctuary this morning in the meeting house. If you are 19 years old or if you are younger, raise your hand. You are the ones for whom we are planting these trees. You are the ones for whom we are doing so much work for justice. I had the great honor of joining your social justice leaders this past week in a meeting, and it was inspiring. And that work is all being done for those who will come, for them. We will practice resurrection, as the poet Wendell Berry encourages of us, for those who come after us, and for those who come after those. I know that Easter is complex for many Unitarian Universalists. To practice resurrection, though, let's think of it in this way. To practice it, we must believe in resurrection in some way, the kind that respectfully holds grief but rises from paralysis, the kind that accepts that mistakes will be made but rises above condemnation. Resurrection that is faithful to the power of love, knowing that love will rise above cruelty. The kind of resurrection that does not make an enemy of time, but does what needs doing over and over and over and over again. Practice resurrection with love, with faith, with grace, as the song that we have been singing sings to us, in honor of the life that you are living, in honor of those who will follow, and know always that you are not alone. Amen. Amen. And we will sing yet again. Thank you, Diane.
We're going to start with the line, "Statues fall and glories fade." Isn't that a comforting thought? Comforts me. Here we go. Statues fall and glories fade, but 100